All right, I wanted to release a video, not really like a proper Minecraft video. We're not really going to be doing anything because I don't want to get sidetracked while I'm talking about this or anything. But um, if you're on the Discord or if you saw, I released a kind of a public message on the community tab the other day. We actually just got internet back, tonight, like a little bit ago. And I wanted to kind of release a video just kind of discussing. For those of you that don't know, my town was hit really, really hard by a tornado on Friday. And you've probably, I'm assuming probably most people have seen it on the news. I know it's been on the national news and stuff quite a bit, but I live in Mayfield and it was hit. Like, it was pretty much devastated, the downtown area, by a tornado, and the candle factory here in Mayfield was hit. A lot of people lost their lives during that, and one of the local Amish communities was hit really, really hard. One that we actually frequent, and it's been a pretty like impactful experience in a lot of different ways. So Friday night, kind of just a little timeline here. My girlfriend and I, of course, for those of you that don't know, my son isn't technically my biological son. It was her son from her previous marriage, and then her and him split up because he had kind of alcohol addiction issues, and she was pregnant and she was worried about all that, and so they split up, and then we met when he was 6 months old, and we started dating soon after, and everything. So we'd actually left, and we were taking him because he goes every other weekend to his grandparents and sees his biological dad and stuff. And so we were taking him there, and then we came back, and we were actually going to do some Christmas shopping this weekend. We would have been going to Paducah to do some shopping, and then would have been coming back home about 8 or so. And luckily, we had done that the previous weekend, or the 2 weekends ago, when we took him. So it kind of worked out. We got kind of lucky in that sense, because we got back into Mayfield. We still did some shopping last night to kind of do a little bit of wrap up Christmas shopping, and then I had to get some stuff because I was going to do a little bit of baking and stuff over the weekend. And so we were picking up a few things, and then we started, getting, we had gotten the messages that we were going to have thunderstorms and stuff and high winds, possible tornado weather. But then we started getting the tornado warnings, and then we got an alarm thing, or a thing that said there was like 13 minutes until the tornado hit Mayfield, and it was like, oh no, oh no, so we hurried up and got back home, and look, we were downtown Mayfield about, I don't know, maybe like 30 or 40 minutes before the tornado hit. And so we hurried up and got home, got the dogs and everything kind of bunkered down, and we were listening, and it was the weirdest sound, because it almost sounds like a train just kind of coming through the house, almost like kind of a distant, not really through the house, but you could hear it, and it was loud, you know. And it sounded about like a train going through for a few minutes there, and then it got quiet again. And we didn't realize that night, we didn't know how bad everything had been hit. We lost power. We did get, we checked on my mom and stuff, texted her, and she said the FNB bank had been hit and the courthouse had been hit and stuff. And then we went and we checked on our neighbors, and mainly one of ours had left, and she wasn't home because when she lost power, see, she can't sleep without a CPAP machine. So she left like after the tornado kind of went through and stuff. But we checked on our other neighbors, and they had checked with a couple of the ones across the street and stuff, and made sure that everybody here was okay and all. And but we really didn't know how bad the devastation was until the following day. We listened to the radio, and they said Mayfield had been hit, but they didn't really say how bad it was at the time. And then Saturday, we started driving to see what was going on, like how bad it was, because we'd heard it been hit and we started hearing it was kind of bad. And so we drove out that way. And it was kind of bad because the traffic was backed up and just moving slow. So we ended up pulling off on a side road and getting out of there before we actually got to actual downtown, because it was really, really bad because the service vehicles, like the ambulance and the police and stuff, were trying to get through there and they couldn't get through because the traffic was so bad. So we ended up pulling off on a side road and circling back around to get out of the traffic, and just kind of looking at some of the outskirt damage at first. That was when we realized actually how bad it was, because I mean there was that first day, I mean there was power poles out over the road, there was trees out over the road, there was huge trees just completely uprooted. And it felt like something, you see on TV or something, but you don't realize it's that bad until you're out in it. Power lines like completely touching the ground where the poles were bent over. We saw the top of I don't know if it was a whale house or a big dog house or something. I mean, it was a pretty big roof, but you could tell it was on something smaller. My dad has a whale house, and it kind of reminded me of that, but it was the top of the roof, and I guess it had been ripped off of whatever it was attached to, and it was tossed into the top of this big tree in somebody's yard, and it had to have been like 100 foot up or something. It was way up there, and this had just been tossed up there, and we saw cars and stuff flipped over and just completely destroyed. And it was at that point where it really sunk in. Oh man, Mayfield's been hit bad. And so that's when we were like, we got to figure out how we can help and stuff. So Saturday we spent a bit of our time, trying to help clear some of the debris downtown. There were some parts that were more like, I guess, specialized, where they had people cutting trees and doing the power line stuff and things like that. But we were just kind of basically move rubble, because there was entire buildings that were just completely flattened. And there was huge sections where there had been houses and stuff, and you look at it, I mean, there was nothing. It was just big pile. It almost looked like a I don't know what, trash dump, how it's just scraps and bits of stuff everywhere. And we've never really had, we get tornadoes ever so often, but they never really hit towns as hard as they did in this case. And to my knowledge, I mean, the closest catastrophe that we had to something like this was like the ice storm, where it was 8 years ago or something, and there was no power for a while, and it was like the coldest winter I think we've ever had. I mean, it was just ice on everything, and everything was closed for the most part. I remember I worked at Walmart at the time. I worked at Walmart for 1 year. And I remember I was working there at the time, and I had to go in. It was 2 days, I think, after the ice storm hit, and the registers and stuff weren't working. We had to, it was cash only, and we had to walk people through the store and stuff like that. So, but there was never anything to this magnitude. There was some damage and stuff during the ice storm, but nothing like this. And it was crazy. I don't know. It's one of those things that's hard to put into words, but it was, you would see people out there working that had literally lost everything during the storm, and still trying to help clean up debris and stuff. That's one thing I have to say. It meant a lot seeing the community kind of come together like it did, and people showing up with tractors and stuff, because we have a lot of farmland here, and there's a lot of people that have tractors, and they showed up to help clear debris and stuff. So it's not completely cleared, but I feel like with how much damage there was, it was there was a lot that's been cleared already. And there was just a lot of people, not just from our community, but from other communities that came and helped and stuff. And a lot of places set up giving out water and even in some cases generators and food and just different things. And we talked to some of the people that were at those places giving out stuff. We haven't accepted any of that food or water or anything because we're kind of in an area where it didn't hit that hard, and we have a lot of food and water and stuff for emergency situations because we're kind of like light preppers where we keep a lot of stuff on hand, just in case anything happens. And but they said they had a lot of trouble giving a lot of the stuff away because people would say, well, I just need this because there's people out there worse off than I am. I just don't have power, or I just don't have water, or such and such. So people have really been, I feel like, like looking for the greater good, like trying to say, no, I don't need this because someone might need it more. Even though there's plenty to go around, people are still kind of like, I don't want to take from someone who might need it worse than I do. So that's been good to see, and just the way everybody kind of came together after everything. And that's like the business where my mom works. They just had their Christmas party, and one guy, he lost his truck completely. They were in it, but it busted all the glass out and got hit by debris and stuff. But they happened to be in the truck close to where the tornado hit, and her company just bought him a brand new car because he lost his and stuff. So I've seen a lot of good stuff like that, and a lot of kind people from outside of the community as well, through donations or just helping clean and stuff. So that's meant a lot. I know, not just for me, but for our entire community. I think Mayfield got a lot of the coverage because it's where kind of the tornado, I guess, first hit, and also with the candle factory being here and just downtown Mayfield being wiped out. But there's other smaller communities outside of Mayfield that were hit really, really hard by the tornado. And from what I understand, Mayfield's been sending a lot of the donations that they received to those smaller communities to help out too, because I feel like Mayfield's gotten a lot more coverage after the event and stuff. So that's been good to see as well, because the tornado, from what I understand, went like 90 something miles. Like they found checks from my mom's lawyer's office like 90 miles away, and then they found like some of the local school jackets and stuff in places. And it's just weird to think how far that stuff had went, and how long it was just in that tornado, like in that debris, I guess, field of the tornado. But yeah, so anyways, Saturday, then we came back and we ended up cooking dinner for a few of our neighbors because of course they didn't have power and whatnot. So we ended up smoking venison and turkey Saturday and Sunday. I think Saturday was venison. We did deer that we had gotten this year, and then Sunday we did turkeys and did those on the smoker and stuff. And we have like a butane like stove eye, and we were doing some cooking on that as well. And we got lucky that the house we bought has gas heating and gas water heater. So we still had warm showers, so we could offer warm showers and stuff, and warm water for people, like to do dishes and stuff and things like that, just general purpose stuff. Our water pressure here was good until, I can't remember if it was Sunday or Monday, but then we had like no water there for like a day. There was enough water coming in that you could flush the toilets, as long as you did it periodically, like once every hour or two you could flush them. But there wasn't enough water pressure coming out that you could really do anything else with the water from the city water. But from what I understand, that's because apparently there was a bunch of holes in the piping, and they lost water pressure, and then they finally got, I think it was I want to say it was Sunday or Monday. It was, I think, the same day that we lost water pressure. They said they got one of the pumps running, but they were still working on the others. But then the following day we had water pressure again. And so I'm assuming, I never heard, but I'm assuming they got the other pumps running. But the water since then has been really cloudy. It seems like they put some kind of chemical maybe in it, because if you pour water like in, say, a mason jar and you hold it up, you'll notice that the water kind of, after a second, it starts to like clear starting from the bottom. And it kind of looks like ice above it, and then it'll just kind of clear all the way up over the course of like a minute or two. So I'm guessing maybe it's a chemical, or maybe it's just whatever's clouding up the water settles. I don't know. But we haven't been drinking that water, just to be on the safe side, because we've heard kind of some people say that there was a boil water thing in effect, and so we're not for sure, and we've got enough like surplus water that it's not really a big deal for us to use some of the water that we had stockpiled. And actually, speaking of the water, one of our neighbors, he works down at the horse stables over at the fairgrounds, and he was talking about how there was no running water over there, at least for the first few days. And so we had these big, I don't know, they're like these big gray water jugs. They're like 6-gallon. And anyways, we gave him a few of those to take down to the horse barns to fill up their water with. And also we handed out some we have these like emergency flashlights that also have a radio built in, and they're also power banks. That's how we were able to charge her phone for the first night. Well, first night and then the next day. But one of my neighbors has a generator, and he actually let us plug into his generator. And it was funny. He had me almost crying out there, because he was talking about how much him and his wife think of us. Like, we're like his favorite neighbors, and he's so happy he has good neighbors and all this. And we were just talking about how basically either of us would do anything for the other one. And anyways, he got me out there crying a little bit. And it was funny. He said, my wife asked me last night, he said, because she had went inside, I'd brought him some turkey, and she had went inside, and he was kind of whispering, he said, do you think, she said, do you think they think of us like grandparents? And he said, well, I don't mind if they do, because, he doesn't have any children of his own, and his wife's just got kind of a adopted granddaughter. And he said, but it wouldn't hurt my feelings at all if they thought of us like that. Anyways, we ended up hugging it out and stuff. So it was interesting. And I don't know, there was a lot of love shown over the past week. And it was nice. And even after something like this happens, it's just, it means a lot, But yeah, so we took them some emergency flashlights and stuff to the neighbors, and just tried to share what we had, because that's kind of why we prep, is like just in case something like this happens. Not necessarily like end of the world scenario, but in the case of emergency, that way we've got enough that we can share and do and whatnot. And then my mom and one of my sisters and my brother's been staying here because, and her dog, my sister's dog, because they lived like 2 blocks from where the devastation really was in Mayfield. As you guys may know, my mom was living with me for a while, and she just bought this house like earlier this year, and they were like 2 blocks from where the devastation was, and they were home whenever it happened. So we've been really thankful that they weren't hit during this. And but anyways, they don't have power, or they do have water now, but not hot water. But they don't have power. They did end up getting a generator from a friend, enough to run their freezer and stuff like that. But they had their food over here for the first couple days there until they got a generator. So, but they've been staying with us, and all my family's okay. But then we had a few friends that were impacted. Actually, one of my girlfriend's good friends from work, he lost his house like completely. It's down there like ground zero almost. He lost his house completely, and he's been staying with his mother-in-law. And it's really sad because he had just had a newborn, not too long ago. So stuff like that's been hard. And then people that have lost family members, of course, is really really hard. So the one of the Amish communities that I had mentioned, they lost. Let's see, one guy owned the lumber mill down there, and he lost I think two members of his family, and then there was one family that just they were in like this 2-story house, and it from what I understand, it killed the whole family. So stuff like that is pretty upsetting. Um, People that are really really impacted, like their lives will never be the same. But my dad's with a group called I think 8 Days of Hope, and he said he was supposed to be messaging me sometime this week or beginning of next week about helping out with them a bit. So I'm still waiting to hear from him if they need me to help out with that. But yeah, we've just been trying to help out where we can and stuff, and do what we can. And then, we got power back on here on Monday, I want to say. Yeah, I think it was Monday morning, maybe. All the days just kind of ran together, without, I guess, really without having the computer, because normally that's my calendar, is I see the days on the computer. So everything without that, it just kind of all ran together. And then we just got internet back up tonight, which would be Thursday night. But I do want to say a big thank you to everybody. When I made the public post on Monday, on the community tab, I got a lot of like heartwarming comments and stuff back, and I was able to check them on her phone from time to time, and because she has AT&T and it stayed up during all this, so we still had some internet access, sort of, but phones I find abysmal to navigate for, because I don't personally use a phone, so trying to navigate them, I never could get on Creator Studio, I couldn't access Discord, so navigating it was abysmal, but I was able to check those comments, and so a big thank you to everybody that sent comments and stuff. There was a lot of great comments that kind of just brightened up my day, like hearing from you guys, and so a big thank you to everybody for that and all the support and stuff. So I want you guys to know that it does mean a lot. So a really big thank you to you. But yeah, it's definitely been an experience that's hard to put into words in some ways, and very impactful, to say the least. And it was weird because you see places that you were literally at like a few days back. Like, for example, there's a Hispanic store that we would shop at, and we would get various different things if we were going to be making like tortillas or something. And to have been there recently and it just be gone now, it's weird. It's very, very weird. I'm glad that everybody was safe. Like I said, we had a few friends that lost houses or had serious structural damage to their houses. But I'm glad that everybody's safe in terms of our friends and family. But I'm still really sad for those that did lose people, family members and friends, and not just in Mayfield, but in other places, because from what I heard, the devastation from the tornado was massive. I think this one went, 90 miles, and I think I read on one website where they said, I think there's 22 tornadoes, according to one website that I had read, that touched down that night, on Friday night. I don't think any of them last as long as the 90-mile one that started here, but I haven't even had the time to sit down and see what all damage was done elsewhere, One thing that did kind of irritate us, we were, it was Saturday, think it was Saturday night, and we were flipping through on those emergency radios that we've got. We were flipping through just trying to find some kind of news coverage, and we found one channel, and I don't know the channel because, like I said, we were just kind of flipping through, and it's kind of hard to tell what you're tuned to by the numbers because, you know, it's just like a dial knob. But I just remember they were doing kind of like, you know, those pointers before they start the news, like what they're going to talk about. And the guy that was going over saying like, this happened and this happened and this happened. I don't know what he'd be called. I don't know. But it was, I don't know if it was meant as a joke or a pun or how he meant it. But his actual words were, and the devastating tornado that rocked Mayfield snuffed out lives at the candle factory. And when me and my girlfriend heard that, we just kind of gave each other this look like, are you serious? They just said that? And like it felt like a joke. You know, I'm not one to generally take what people say and think really bad of it, you know, and try to find something bad that they could have meant by it. But that kind of left a sour taste in my mouth, just the way that he said it. Because, you know, it was kind of like, it was like lives snuffed out at the candle factory. Like the way he said it was just really, I don't know. It was kind of pissed us off, to be honest. Just the way that he said it, I thought it was really bad. But like I said, I don't know the channel, because it was just one that we came upon flipping through, and that radio, it had to have been pretty far away because I couldn't keep it in signal that well. I had to hold it like the radio a certain way, like the antenna. But yeah, so anyways, that was the only thing that like really irritated me, and I think it irritated her pretty well. And we're generally not the type to get upset about anything, like, you know, what people say. But that was kind of, out of that, especially like the day after. But I hope you guys are all safe, and if anybody was impacted by the tornado, I hope that you and your loved ones are safe and everything, at least. So until next time, do take care, stay safe, and I hope to see you guys next time.